Let's detail 8 takeaways from round 1 of the 2022 NFL Draft. Starting us off, the Steelers finally land their franchise quarterback. One of the weakest drafts at the quarterback position in modern history included Kenny Pickett coming off the board as the first signal caller to the Steelers with the 20th selection. There has to be some questions about whether Pickett was a one-year wonder for Pitt. There's also some concern over his hand size. Even then, we have to give Pittsburgh some credit for biting the bullet in the 2022 NFL Draft and actually selecting a quarterback. Look for Pickett to be the long-term solution, with Mitchell Trubisky being the stopgap starter in 2022. Up next, the New York Jets add 2 potential franchise cornerstones. Talk about finding value at 2 positions of utmost need. Gardner will provide New York with the nastiness and confidence in the secondary after a dominating college career. Meanwhile, Wilson should help provide young quarterback Zach Wilson with another weapon to go with young slot guy Elijah Moore. Up next, NFL teams value defense at the top of the draft. It's not a surprise that quarterbacks fell big time during the first round of the NFL Draft. With that said, the first 5 picks Thursday evening were all spent on defenders. This just goes to show how teams value that side of the ball. Up next, the Seahawks troll Russell Wilson with their pick. One of the biggest issues for Russell Wilson in the Pacific Northwest prior to his trade to the Denver Broncos was that he was sacked a whopping 427 times in his 10 seasons with the team. So what did Seattle do with the first of multiple picks it acquired from the Broncos for Wilson? It added former Mississippi State left tackle Charles Cross to the mix. That seems to be a troll job. In all seriousness, Cross will now be in the mix as a rookie to help protect new quarterback Drew Lock in the Pacific Northwest. Up next, the Ravens land Hamilton and pull off a surprising trade. Baltimore was among the most active teams on the trade block during the first round of the NFL Draft. That included landing a stud safety in Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame with the 14th pick. A bit later on in day 1, Baltimore shocked the football world by moving Hollywood Brown to the Arizona Cardinals. This leaves a huge hole at wide receiver for former NFL MVP Lamar Jackson and will have Baltimore searching for more help at wide receiver. Up next, Howie Roseman gets his wide receiver with an NFL draft trade. It wasn't a secret that the Eagles had been targeting a wide receiver with one of their first-round picks. However, we had absolutely no idea that Philadelphia was going to pull off the biggest blockbuster of the draft. The Eagles sent their first-round pick and a third-round selection to the Tennessee Titans for stud young wide receiver A.J. Brown. Up next, quarterbacks fall during the 2022 NFL Draft. It's going to be interesting to see how the top of the second round plays out with the likes of Malik Willis, Sam Howell, Matt Corral, and Desmond Ridder all available. The expectation here is that there'll be a run of quarterbacks at the top of round 2. And finally, the Deebo Samuel situation. Most figured that Deebo would be the biggest named wide receiver traded on day 1. Reports had indicated that the Jets offered up 10th pick as part of a package for the disgruntled 49ers wide receiver. Instead, we saw the likes of A.J. Brown and Hollywood Brown traded. A total of 6 wide receivers also went in the first round. Meanwhile, Samuel remains with the 49ers more than a week after he requested a trade from the organization. This is certainly something to keep an eye on as the offseason progresses.